Things are picking up fast on the Vancouver Canucks trade front as we get a recent report revealing key players the Vancouver Canucks are actively shopping, while we also get another update on Evander Kane and the trade front surrounding him, which have fans completely split on what this report is. We're going to break down all this, the reports surrounding multiple players, why the Vancouver Canucks are going to move them, and so much more in this episode. You're not going to want to miss it. So let's just dive straight into it today, where we know there's so much surrounding this Vancouver Canucks team. We have reports around Conor Garland, Kiefer Sherwood, Evander Kane. I've touched on multiple of these guys, so go check those videos out. But we do get a report coming from Thomas Drance revealing an update on key players. Evander Kane and Teddy Blueger will be among the names the Canucks will shop. Now, looking at this, we spoke on Kiefer Sherwood, and this is a guy that I would not want to move from this Canucks organization. But with Evander Kane and Teddy Blueger, two of these guys feel like the most likely for obvious reasons on why they're being moved. Now, the big thing is we're going to dive straight into Evander Kane first, where David Pagnotta came out with the report. I don't expect there to be much interest in Evander Kane, so I'm not anticipating a move. Now, this goes against the grain from what we're seeing from a lot of other insiders. We know Elliot Friedman has spoke on the matter. We've seen Jim Rutherford speak on how this team wants to get younger. There's going to be a team that's going to want Evander Kane on their roster, especially when the playoff rolls around, and you want a guy that's a thorn and hard to play against, even though he might not be the greatest offensively. Now, the biggest thing with Evander Kane, the contract is not great. $5.1 million. I wish we give this money to Pius Suter, but that's hindsight. The biggest thing is, if the Canucks want to wait a little bit for Evander Kane, flip him at half retains, there's going to be a team that's going to come out. We're going to see a fourth, a third, as long as they get equal value for what they give up to the Edmonton Oilers. And it's hard to look at that way, as we lost Pius Suter and then brought in Evander Kane. So you're looking at losing a 2/3C, losing a fourth to bring in Kane, but there's going to be teams active. We're seeing reports everywhere. So seeing stuff like this, yes, I'm not going to sit here and say David Pagnotta doesn't know what he's talking about, because of course he does, but other reports are really pushing that Evander Kane is going to be a name that teams are calling on. And I'm not talking about Frank Cervelli, Michael Bublé's favorite, when he had that legendary quote today. Now, going further into this, Teddy Blueger is an interesting name. This is a piece that a lot of teams are going to look at when they're looking for bottom six help on their penalty kill and face-off dot, and I think the value around Teddy Blueger is going to be an all-time high the closer we get to deadline. Now, the big thing with Teddy Blueger, playing in 2 games this year with 1 assist, not having the highest career output when it comes offensively, Teddy Blueger brings a lot more to this lineup. He's a guy you can put out in the defensive zone to win you a draw. He can still create offense. He's going to win you faceoffs, and I think the biggest thing is, when looking at the Canucks, now this is changed a bit. This video might be going just after the game versus the San Jose Sharks tomorrow, where we see Lukas Reichel go back into this lineup. Once again, another name that's on the trade front. But the biggest thing is, with the Canucks down the middle, you have PD. David Kampf should not be a second line center, but listen, we're looking at a team that's struggling with injuries. Max Sasson, Sexton, I'm going to say it different ways every time, I'm sorry, and Lukas Reichel. We have Aatu Ratu, Coots. All these guys are going to be with this organization for a lot this year, minus, of course, Kampf and Reichel are probably moved out. But when looking at this team that wants to get a young second line center that's going to be injected into this lineup to start next year, you still have Aatu Ratu that's going to come in as a third line center, and you have Coots that could join this team as a third, pushing Ratu down. This is a team that does not need depth at the center position. At the moment, yes, but in the future, if they're going to continue looking at that position, so moving him out before he hits free agency, before you lose him for nothing, that we see in this management group, and listen, I don't want to harp on them, but we've seen them lose out on Zadorov, Lindholm, Pius Suter, a lot of names, so you rather get value for a guy like Teddy Blueger. Now, this report continues on. These efforts could even extend perhaps to a player like Tyler Myers. Now, Tyler Myers, this is the big thing with him. You lose a lot of net game. Wow, okay, not in that way, but you lose a lot of grit. You lose a big player, and you also lose leadership with Tyler Myers. When going back and looking at the defensive appearance, this makes sense if you're looking at it and you're saying, hey, we want to take Tom Villander and move him up in this lineup. He's looked great a lot of games, still a young defenseman, a lot to grow, but seeing his development is a guy that maybe you want to move Tyler Myers out. Listen, I don't want to trade a lot of these guys, but Tyler Myers on year 2 of 3, so he still has this year and next year on his contract. Once again, a piece that a lot of teams are going to call on. Tyler Myers at 6'8", 35 years old, getting him onto a playoff team. We know it can work. We've seen with the Canucks during their run. Tyler Myers looked great, and I do think with the leadership, with the experience being in the NHL since 2009-10, Tyler Myers is going to be a name that a lot of people call on. Even a guy like Derek Forbort, who's not in this lineup, of course, is going to be someone that a lot of teams are looking at and saying, hey, we want to add depth. We want to add a big physical defenseman that can play on this third pairing. Getting Tyler Myers or Derek Forbort, one of these guys are 100% gone. I think Forbort for sure. It's the last year of his deal. He hasn't played a lot for the Canucks, but listen, the big thing is looking at the schedule. Now, looking at the game versus the San Jose Sharks, once again, I don't know the outcome of this. The Canucks could win. They just came off probably the funnest game I've seen in quite some time versus the Anaheim Ducks. And listen, I want to give a huge shout out to Tolopilo for the performance we seen from him last night, by the way, going out to stop those shots. Tolopilo looked great. What was it? 37 saves on 40-something shots. What we're seeing out of the young goaltender, the 6'6" Belarus goaltender, does show the future of the Canucks. There's a lot of pieces to like within this team. This gives them the opportunity to move out some veteran players. That could be someone like Tyler Myers. We could see someone like Evander Kane, Teddy Blueger. It's going to continue getting interesting on what players are going to be moved out. We know Jim Rutherford and Patrik Allvin don't like sitting on their hands. We see a lot of trades. Happy early season. I mean, we look at some of them like Lindholm when the Canucks acquired him. Zadorov, you've seen the Casey DeSmith trade. This is a lot of teams looking in at the Vancouver Canucks, a key for sure with Evander Kane. Every veteran is going to get a call, and I think there's some guys the Canucks need to hold on to unless you get value that you can't turn down. And listen, I want to put it out there, looking at the schedule once again, we're going to see the Canucks maybe lose a lot of these games or win a lot of them. It's going to dictate how they're doing this. I think they're going to move out a lot of players regardless, but at the end of the day, my big thing is, listen, the Canucks haven't been the best. Do I want them to make the playoffs this year? Hell yes. Everyone that's a fan should feel like that as well, but I'm also fine with the Canucks still getting younger. If they can get younger and make a playoff push, that's awesome. If they get a top 5 pick, that's awesome as well, but at the end of the day, I'd like to see this Canucks team continue playing. And I also want to give a huge shout out to Callum McKenzie as well for comments of the day. The Canucks better get a first and sweetener if they're going out and sell our heart and soul in Sherwood. He's the best contract and best person in the league. And listen, I know you loved and were fired up with the Tolopilo game last night or the night before once again. But the big thing, Canucks fans, go down and leave a comment. Who would you move out from this roster? Is there anyone safe? Obviously, Hughes, Pettersson. There's a lot of guys. You can work your way. Brock Boeser, Conor Garland, DeBrusk. A lot of names fans love. But who would you like to try to get as much value as you can for at this point? Would you sell now? Would you rather wait till deadline? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. But that'd be it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys enjoyed this week as well. It's almost the weekend. And once again, Canucks fans, take care. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I've been your host, Mark. Bye. See ya.